No, talent passport is not a visa. I receive so many emails asking me questions like, I have a talent passport visa, can I be both a salaried employee and self-employed? What is the minimum salary needed for a talent passport visa holder? Or how many years will the multi-year permit be? And so on. And my first response is always the same. Which talent passport visa do you have? The answer to most questions will vary a lot depending on the type of talent passport visa that we are referring to. Talent passport is actually a program, not a visa, to attract top talents from outside the EU to contribute to France's economy, competitiveness and innovation. Therefore, as the top talent that you are, you need to know what I'll explain in this video. However, each visa in the Talent Passport program has very different eligibility criteria. Don't get me wrong, the French administration does a terrible job at explaining the differences between the French visas. So in this video, we'll uncover the specificities of the Talent Passport program, we'll detail the 11+1 different Talent Passport visas, and I will tell you my 3 favorite ones and why by the end of this video. I will explain the eligibility criteria, the application process, and what you need to do once you arrive in France. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Giga from the blog Expat in France. I am a French serial expat and also a global mobility professional. You will find here information about French admin and French culture to adjust to your French life. So let's dive in. First, what is Talent Passport? As I said before, Talent Passport is a mobility program. It was created in 2016 and it includes 11 visas leading to multi-year residence permits. It replaced the residence permit known as skills and talents. The permit duration goes up to 4 years and is renewable. Certain foreign nationals may be excluded from the Talent Passport program since their situation is governed by specific bilateral agreement with France and will have other type of visas. This is the case for Algerian or other Maghreb or African countries, mostly former French colonies. So if you are not from one of these countries and meet the requirements that I will detail later in the video, you can request one of the 11 Talent Passport visas and then request a multi-year residence permit once in France. But first, let's see the specificities of the Talent Passport visas compared to the other long-stay visas that could also allow you to reside and work in France. The 3 main specificities that make the Talent Passport program attractive are first, the family members of foreign nationals who have a Talent Passport visa will also be admitted to stay in France. Family members include minor children and the married spouse. So this means that your adult children above the age of 18 and unmarried spouses will not be granted a dependent visa if you are a Talent Passport visa holder. The married spouse and the minor children of one of the 11 Talent Passport visas will be issued a Talent Passport family visa for the same period as the residence permit of the foreign national who has obtained the main Talent Passport visa. This is a major advantage, as the challenging family reunification procedure will not have to be carried out. The Talent Passport family visa is the +1 visa that I mentioned earlier. This is even a better visa than the main Talent Passport visa for the main holder, since the Talent Passport family visa authorizes the spouse to work in France, which is not the case of other potential dependent visa, and this authorization is given without any restriction. The second major advantage is that you will not need to apply for a work authorization from the French Ministry of Labour, as this is the case for other work visas. So in the case that you are requesting one of the Talent Passport visas as a salaried employee, this means that your employer will not need to prove that they cannot recruit a French or EU citizen for the job that you will have in France as a Talent Passport visa holder. This is a huge advantage, I can tell you. Then the third main advantage is that there is less bureaucracy compared to other long-stay visas, considering that you will receive a multi-year residence permit for up to 4 years from the moment you arrive in France. This means that you will avoid multiple renewals compared to other long-stay visas. Don't get me wrong, you won't escape the French bureaucracy, but let's say that there is an intent to make it a bit easier for talents coming into France. Now caution, there is a big misunderstanding about the talent passport visas in France and the possibility of requesting a French passport. The possibility to submit a naturalization request file still requires 5 years of residency in France, the same as for other statuses. It may be different in other EU countries, such as Germany, but in France, you will still need to prove 5 years of continuous residency to be able to submit a naturalization request file. Before I dive into the application process, let me detail the 11 different talent passport visas so that you can figure out if one of these is a match for you. The French administration divides the talent passport visas into 4 categories. The first category is if you are a qualified or highly qualified paid employee. There are 5 talent passport visas under this category. First, the talent passport employee of an innovative company, le passeport talent entreprise innovante in French. And the criteria to meet to be able to request this visa are that your French employment contract is for more than 3 months and that your job must be directly linked to the company's research and development project. Your salary must be at least equal to twice the minimum legal wage in France for a full-time worker. You must be employed by a company that is considered as a new innovative company by the French Ministry of Economy. The easiest would be for you to confirm with the potential employer if they are formally considered as a new innovative company, une jeune entreprise innovante in French. But for your information, here are the main criteria that your employer must meet so that you can request this visa. First, the company must employ fewer than 250 people in all establishments. It must have a turnover of less than 50 million euros for the financial year. And the company can qualify as a new innovative company if it has been in existence for less than 11 years. The company has incurred research expenditures representing at least 15% of the tax-deductible expenses for that financial year, excluding those incurred with other young innovative companies carrying out research and development projects. And also, at least 50% of its share capital must be held continuously by individuals or certain legal entities listed in the French General Tax Code. The company must not have been created as part of a merger, restructuring, extension, or takeover of pre-existing activities. Now, the following talent passport visa in this category is the talent passport qualified employee, le passeport talent salarié qualifié. You can get that visa if you meet the 2 following conditions. First, you have obtained in France a diploma of specialized master's degree, Master of Science, labeled by the Conference of Colleges in France, or at least equivalent to the master's. So this does not apply to non-French diploma holders. Also, you must have an employment contract of more than 3 months with annual gross earning of at least twice the annual French minimum wage, which results in 2024 in about 43,000 euros. In the case of the 2 visas that we've just seen, you will get a visa with the written mention Passeport Talent Salarié Qualifié Entreprise Innovante. The next talent passport visa is for highly qualified paid employee. Here I'm referring to the Talent Passport Highly Skilled Workers Visa, also called the EU Blue Card. You must meet the 3 following conditions to be able to request an EU Blue Card. First, you must hold a diploma of at least 3 years of higher education or 5 years of proven experience of comparable level. Here, it can be a non-French diploma as opposed to the previous visa. Then you must have an employment contract of at least 1 year and receive a gross annual salary, before bonuses, of a minimum of 1.5 times the referential average gross salary, which has been just under 54k euros since 2016. Please note that this permit is also granted if you have stayed at least 18 months in another EU country with an EU blue card. You must apply for the French version of the EU blue card within the month of entering France. The next visa in this category is the Talent Passport Researcher Visa, le passeport talent chercheur ou chercheur mobilité. You can obtain a residence card Talent Passport Researcher if you are employed to conduct research work in France, and you should meet all the following conditions. You have a degree at least equivalent to the master's degree. You come to France to conduct research or provide university-level education. You have a hosting agreement signed with an approved public or private organization with a research or higher education mission. The agreement must indicate that you are a researcher and the purpose and duration of your stay in France. If you plan to travel to another EU country for your research, the agreement must specify your membership in a mobility program. In this case, you can ask for a residence card Talent Passport Researcher Mobility Program. Now, the last talent passport in this category is the Employee on Assignment Visa, le passeport talent salarié en mission. This visa has been created for employees already employed by a company abroad who wish to be transferred to France for a limited duration, up to 4 years. In that case, you should have an executive role or bring specific expertise. You should hold a work contract with the French entity and have more than 3 months of seniority in the company before the transfer to France. You should receive a gross annual salary before bonuses of a minimum of 1.8 times the French minimum salary, so about 38k euro in 2024. If you don't have a French work contract and are transferred to the French entity of your current employer, the seconded intra-company transfer visa, which is not a talent passport visa, may match your situation. Now let's move on to the second category of talent passport visas. When you are a self-employed person, the first visa in this category will be the Talent Passport Business Creator, le passeport talent créateur d'entreprise. This visa allows you to carry out a commercial activity if you meet the following 2 conditions. You should have a degree at least equivalent to the master's or 5 years of professional experience of comparable level. You justify a real and serious company creation project in France. This means that you will need to submit a thorough business plan to a specific entity before your visa request so that your business project is vetted. And you should invest at least 30,000 euros into the business. If you do not meet the criteria for this entrepreneurial visa, the Entrepreneur Liberal Profession Visa, which is not part of the Talent Passport program, might be a good option for you. These 2 visas, the Talent Passport Business Creator and the Entrepreneur Liberal Profession Visa, as well as the Talent Passport Artistic Profession that I will explain later in this video, are fully detailed in the France Formula online course. This is a step-by-step program to help you organize a successful, simplified, and stress-free move to France for adventurers moving sponsor-free to France. No French language skills needed. If you want more information and join the waiting list, click on the link in the description below. The second visa in this category is the Talent Passport Economic or Financial Investor Visa, le passeport talent investisseur économique. This visa allows you to carry out all commercial activities related to the project concerned. 2 types of investment are accepted. First, an investment via a company, and in that case, you must run this company personally or at least own 30% of the capital. Then you plan to create or keep the job within 4 years of the investment in France. The investment in tangible or intangible assets must represent at least 300,000 euros. Then the second type of investment will be a personal investment, and in that case you must personally invest in a company in which you acquire a lasting interest of at least 10% of the capital. You plan to create or keep the job within 4 years of the investment in France. The investment in tangible or intangible assets must represent as well at least 300,000 euros. Now, the next talent passport visa in this category is the innovative economic project, le passeport talent, projet économique innovant. This talent passport visa is the third that has been created for the tech ecosystem. We have just seen the visa for investors and for employees of the tech ecosystem, and the third one is for the company founder. The main eligibility criteria for the Talent Passport Innovative Business Project are to prove the innovative nature of the project and its recognition by one of the French tech visa partners, incubators, or accelerators via their regular process of selection. You should justify sufficient level of financial resources, which means at least the French minimum wage. And the last visa in this category is the Talent Passport Company Representative, le Passeport Talent Mandataire Social. You can obtain this visa if you meet all the following conditions. First, you are a legal representative in a business established in France. You have been working for at least 3 months as an employee or social agent in a business of the same group. Your annual gross earnings are greater than 3 times the annual gross French minimum wage, which is about 64,000 euros in 2024. There are 2 categories left, and then I will detail the application process, what happens after the application, and I will reveal which are my 3 favorite talent passport visas. Now, the third category is if you are a performer or have created a literary or artistic work, either employed or self-employed. There is one visa under this category, and it's the Talent Passport Artistic Profession, le Passeport Talent Profession Artistique in French. This is a visa for performers and artists coming to France to pursue their artistic careers. The most important aspect of this visa request are how you will develop your art in France and integrate yourself into the local art network and community. You need to prove that you are already an artist when requesting this visa. This means that you can prove that you are already making at least 70% of the French minimum wage. You can request this visa either as self-employed artist or as a salaried artist. Now, the last category is for people that can prove their national or international reputation in the following fields like science, literature, arts, education, and sports. And here I'm talking about the Talent Passport Internationally Renowned Personality Visa. You should prove your national or international reputation by any possible means. Compared to the artistic profession, you need to earn at least the French minimum wage. If you are an artist and hesitate with the Talent Passport Artistic Profession, I'd recommend requesting the previous visa. This avoids depending on the subjectivity of the French administration to evaluate how sufficient your reputation is to request this last visa. Now, what is the application process for a Talent Passport visa? There are 5 steps that you need to follow. The first step is to determine your eligibility based on the Talent Passport categories that we've just seen. Then the second is to confirm the detailed application process corresponding to the type of Talent Passport visa that you are requesting. Indeed, it will vary depending on the Talent Passport visa you are applying for. For example, you will need to submit your business file to a specific entity if required for the Talent Passport visa category, and you will receive an approval attestation to include in your visa request file. This is the case, for example, for the Talent Passport Business Creator, and this very specific process is detailed in the France Formula course. Most of the processes is now done online, and the visa request duration is aiming for around 2 months. So anticipation is always a good idea when it comes to international relocation. Step number 3, you will need to gather all the supporting documents, including passports, personal documents, translated birth certificate and marriage certificate if applicable, photos, proof of purpose of visit, documentation related to employment or self-employment in France, application form, proof of address, and category-specific requirements. Some documents may need to be legalized or apostilled depending on the bilateral agreement between your country and France, and you will get the full list of documents on the France visa website after completing the visa request form as a draft. Now, step number 4, you will need to schedule your appointment with the French Visa Center or the French Consulate. If you live outside of France, you should submit your French visa request from the French Consulate of your country of residence with all the documents corresponding to the type of talent passport visa that you are requesting. If you are already a resident in France under another long-stay visa or permit, you can apply for a talent passport permit and thus a change of status at your local prefecture. The prefecture of your place of residence will be responsible for processing the application for a change of status, so there is no need to return home to request the relevant talent passport permit. Number 5. Submit the documents and pay for the visa and permit processing fee, which is €99 visa fee plus €275 fee for the permit. Now, how long should you wait for the consulate's decision on your visa application? Several elements could impact the duration, such as the time of the year and which consulate you are requesting it from. But the better your file was prepared, the faster you will receive a response. By law, you should receive a response up to 2 months from the date of submission. If approved, get prepared for the immigration process on arrival in France. And upon arrival in France, you must apply for a residence permit at the prefecture in your region within the first 3 months in France. Then what happens next? At the end of your multi-year permit, the talent passport can be renewed, but the renewal is subject to the same conditions as the initial request. This means that you will still have to meet the conditions required in terms of remuneration, employment, etc., as explained earlier in this video. If this is not the case, the prefecture will refuse to renew the residence permit. Now, I promised to tell you which of the talent passport visas were my favorites. Well, since it is less and less common for an employer to accept to be involved in the international relocation process of their employees, since this will incur costs and compliance responsibilities in terms of labor law, tax law, immigration, my favorite talent passport visas are self-employed ones. It will be the talent passport business creator, the talent passport artistic profession, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, the talent passport family visa is actually the best of all, since the spouse will not have any restrictions to work. This means having the possibility to be self-employed or salaried, and even both at the same time. These 3 visas are part of the France Formula online program, in addition to the Entrepreneur Liberal Profession visa, the French spouse visa, and the long-stay visitor visa. I hope this video helped you to understand better the Talent Passport program and its 11 different visas. If you found this video helpful, please don't hesitate to give it a like to show your appreciation. This means a lot to me, and YouTube will show this video to more people. Thank you for watching until the end. Merci et à bientôt!